Welcome to Utisam Mathematics. In this video, I'm going to continue with the polynomial. I've already considered how to add and subtract, multiply, divide polynomials, and also remainder theorem. So today, I'm looking at factor theorem. Now, what does factor theorem says? You have a polynomial f of x of degree n, which is greater or equal to 1. Then you have any real number a. Then x minus a will be a factor of the polynomial if, when we equate the divisor to 0 and you find a real number, you put it in the function, polynomial function, you get 0. In other words, now when you put any real number in a polynomial function and you get 0, then x plus or minus that real number is a factor. So this is what I mean. If you find f of a to be 0, then we can say that according to factor theorem, x minus a is a factor. In other words, if you find f of minus a and is equal to 0, this also implies that x plus a is a factor. And then the first scenario too, now when you divide a polynomial by the divisor x plus a, then when you equate it to 0 and you find f of, which is x being equal to minus a, when you put it in the polynomial function, then you are going to get, if f of minus a is equal to 0, then it means that x plus a is a factor. In the same way, if you have x minus a and then you equate the divisor to 0 and x to be equal to a and you put it in the polynomial, if the remainder is 0, then we conclude that x minus a is also a factor. Let's look at how we are going to apply this concept. Example 1. X minus 2 is a factor of the polynomial f of x is equal to 2x cubed minus x squared minus nx minus 2. We have to find the value of n. Now, according to factor theorem, if x minus 2 is a factor, it means that when we equate the divisor to 0, we find the value of x, which is x is equal to 2. It implies that f of 2, when you put 2 in the polynomial, you should get 0. So this implies that 2 times 2 raised to the power 3 minus 2 squared minus n times 2 minus 2 is equal to 0. This implies that 2 raised to the power 3 is 8, so 2 times 8 minus 4 minus 2n minus 2 is equal to 0. So you have 2 times 8 is 16 minus 4, let's group the values, minus 2 minus 2n is equal to 0. So 16 minus 4 minus, so we are getting 10 minus 2, 2n is equal to 0. So we want to find n. So minus 2n is equal to minus 10. So we divide both sides by minus 2 and we get n to be 5. Let's look at the second example. X squared plus x minus 2 is a factor of the polynomial 2x cubed minus px squared plus qx plus 6. We have to find the values of p and q. This time the divisor is a quadratic, so we go by the principle, the theorem. For factor theorem, if this is a factor. It means that when we equate x squared plus x minus 2 is equal to 0, and we find x, and we put it in the polynomial, we are supposed to get 0. So first, let's find the values of x. This is quadratic, so we use the method of factorization to factorize this one. So here the coefficient is 1. 1 times minus 2 is minus 2. So we are looking at factors of minus 2. That when we multiply, we get minus 2. But when we add, we get 1, the coefficient here. So the factors will be minus 1 and then 2. So which implies that x squared minus x plus 2x minus 2 is equal to 0. So we are going to have x into bracket x minus 1 plus 2 into bracket x minus 1 is equal to 0. So x minus 1 and then x plus 2 is equal to 0. So this implies that our x is equal to 1 or minus 2. So from factor theorem, f of 1 is equal to 0 and f of minus 2 is equal to 0. So we are going to generate two equations which involves p and q, and then we solve it simultaneously. So if f of 1 is equal to 0, it implies that 2 times 1 cubed minus p 1 squared plus q times 1 plus 6 is equal to 0. So you have 2 minus p plus q plus 6 is equal to 0. So we have minus p plus q. Now 2 plus 6 is 8. So when it goes to the right hand side, it becomes minus 8. So this is our equation 1. So let's generate the other equation. F of minus 2 is equal to 0. So this implies that 2 times minus 2 cubed minus p minus 2 squared plus q minus 2 plus 6 is equal to 0. So 2 minus 2 cubed is minus 8. 2 times minus 8, which is minus 16. Minus 2 squared is 4. So we have minus 4p. And then minus 2q plus 6 is equal to 0. So we have minus 4p minus 2q. Minus 16 plus 6 is minus 10, but when it goes to the right hand side, it becomes 10. Now 2 can divide. Let's divide through by minus 2. So we have 2p plus q is equal to minus 5. That is equation 2. So we are going to solve these two equations. And then, so we have minus p plus q is equal to minus 8, equation 1. So let's use elimination method. Equation 2 minus equation 1. Minus p minus, we have minus 3p minus 8 minus minus 5. So we get minus 3. So our p becomes 1. Then we put it in any of the two equations. So, which implies that minus 1 plus q is equal to minus 8. So q is equal to minus 8 plus 1. So our q becomes minus 8 plus 1 is minus 7. Let's look at the next one. So after knowing the factor theorem, we can apply it in this concept too. So zeros of a polynomial. To find the zeros of polynomial, you equate the polynomial to 0 and you solve it. And this time we have cubic. To solve this one, we first have to factorize. Example, find the zeros of the following polynomial. We first equate the polynomial to 0. So example 1, x cubed minus 2x squared minus 9x plus 18 is equal to 0. Now, there are so many ways of finding the zeros, but we first have to factorize. And because it is cubic, it becomes difficult to factorize. Sometimes you can use the factor theorem that we take any real number, put it in the function. When it is equal to 0, then we can get the divisor. But there is another way, a short way that you can use it. Now you check that if the third term here, you check if the third term is a perfect square, and that perfect square can go into the fourth term, then we can use this shortcut. So we use the normal factorization for quadratic expression. So that's the method of grouping. Now this implies that x cubed and then 2x squared. What is the common factor? The common factor is x squared. So x minus, what is left here? Minus 2. Okay. So minus 9 to bracket x minus 2 is equal to 0. So you have x minus 2 and then x squared minus 9. Now that is why I was telling you that this must be difference of 2 squared, because you need to factorize this one. And if it is a difference of 2 squared, it becomes easier to do it. So because this is difference of 2 squares, we can, so x minus 2 times, this one is difference of 2 squares, so it becomes x plus 3 and then x minus 3. Now in case you have forgotten, or in case you are watching me for the first time, I've made videos on quadratic factorization, so I will urge you to go to the 7 building blocks. You get all the information there. And this becomes either this x minus 2 is equal to 0, or x plus 3 is equal to 0, or x minus 3 is equal to 0. We solve for x in each case. X is equal to 2, and then x is equal to minus 3, x is equal to 3. Now we are looking for the zeros. So how you write your answer is very important. Yes, you have solved for x, but then the zeros, we are looking for values that will make the function equal to 0. So the zeros, you conclude that the zeros are 2, minus 3, and then 3. Okay, now let's look at the second example. The second example, x cubed minus 2x squared minus x plus 2. So because we are finding the zeros, you equate it to 0. So I want you to pause the video and then try it first before you check the solution. So as I've told you, you check the third term. If the value here is a perfect square, that you can use method of grouping. Now here is 1. 1 is a perfect square. So let's check. Let's try. So this implies that x squared out, x minus 2 minus 1, x minus 2. That's grouping, the method of grouping. So we have x minus 2, do something what is called x squared minus 1 is equal to 0. So x minus 2. Now this is the difference of two squares, so we have x plus 1, x minus 1 is equal to 0. So this implies that x minus 2 is equal to 0, or x plus 1 is equal to 0, or x minus 1 is equal to 0. So when you solve x in each case, we have x is equal to 2, or x is equal to minus 1, or x is equal to 1. So as I told you, zeros are minus 1, 1, and then 2. Thank you very much, viewers, for watching this video. Once again, if you have not subscribed, kindly click on the subscribe button. You can also share, give your comment, you like the video, and then you turn on your notification button so that anytime I drop a video here, you can easily get it.